Israel's president, Isaac Herzog, addressed a joint session of Congress just about an hour and a half ago. And of course, you had these Democrat members of the Progressive Caucus, some of them who boycotted, others who have, said that Israel's a racist state in a lead up to this visit by President Herzog. And also just kind of the tensions that you feel between the difference between how the Trump administration was working with the state of Israel and the Biden administration is kind of not working with the state of Israel. In fact, during the speech, Israel's President Isaac Herzog, who I think understands the idea of freedom of speech, because in Israel there's freedom of speech, and he said, there's criticism of Israel, this was a direct quote, must not cross the line into negation of the state of Israel's right to exist. That, hey, you can be critical of our policies, our own people. We have different political views and we have elections in our country. But it's a step further when you start questioning our right to exist as the state of Israel. Our senior counsel for global affairs, Mike Pompeo, is joining us now, former Secretary of State. Secretary Pompeo, I wanted to go right to this because we had 9 Democrats, and unfortunately, even though it's just these 9, there's some of the 9 most high-profile young Democrats. It seems like this is where the party is moving. They boycotted the speech by Isaac Herzog and voted against a resolution celebrating Israel's 75th anniversary as the state of Israel.
Jordan, it's pretty remarkable to watch a Democrat Party begin to move against, frankly, the United States' great partner in the Middle East. It's a security partner, it's economic partner, as we saw by the remarks of President Herzog today, someone who is committed to helping Americans be safe as well. And it's, to your point, it's just 9. That's a relatively small number in the House of Representatives, but there's a lot of energy in that group. And there were a whole bunch of folks who, frankly, didn't want to vote on that resolution. They didn't want it to happen because they did not want to anger the progressive part of the Democratic Party that has moved decidedly in a way that is, to use Representative Jayapal's remarks, that said Israel is a racist nation, right? That's anti-Semitic to the nth degree, right? There's no shaving that, there's no rounding that, there's no walking that back. If you believe in your heart that this is a racist nation, the one country in the Middle East that permits every citizen, Arab, Jewish, Christian, Orthodox Jews, everybody to vote and participate. When you head down that path, you are essentially undermining the core covenant, which gives the Jewish people this rightful homeland in the nation of Israel.
Yeah, it was interesting, Secretary Pompeo, because she ultimately, when you said, that there was more members of Congress that didn't even want to vote on this because of the controversy over her statement saying, that Israel's a racist state to cheers in this progressive conference she was speaking at, she ended up voting in favor of the resolution and trying to walk back. But she's the head of this progressive caucus that most of that caucus voted against it and didn't even attend the speech. But, what we're seeing, the rhetoric is moving up. First, it was the all about the Benjamins kind of thing, which is obviously a clear shot at Jews and those kind of statements from Representative Ilhan Omar. But then it's the apartheid state stuff. Then it's just Israel is, just bluntly saying, Israel is a racist state. The rhetoric keeps getting more and more intense.
That's right. And they become slower to walk it back. And so they throw it out there because they know it'll gain attention, but then they walk it back ever so slowly and see how far they can creep. They are supported by the set of policies that the Biden administration has put forward, right? You mentioned this in your opening. We're now back to funding the UN group that gives money to the Palestinians, to Mahmoud Abbas, who is paying people to slay people in Israel, right? We watch them now when Israel has to defend itself from rockets that come from the Gaza Strip or attacks that take place inside of Israel, Tel Aviv, or Jerusalem. This administration is very slow, very grudging to say, nope, the United States stands with Israel. It's right to defend its own people. When we get to the issues that we dealt with in the Trump administration, right, we made it very clear the Golan Heights is part of Israel. Now the Biden administration has said, well, products that are made in the Golan Heights are no longer properly made in Israel, right? Echoing the sentiments of anti-Semitic BDS movement. The Biden administration is providing real energy and real support to folks like Ilhan Omar and Representative Jayapal. That is most unfortunate, and it is dangerous, and it's indecent, Jordan.
Yeah, it just seems like, again, that the relationship is frayed right now, and that the Biden administration, I guess, ignoring the success, we've talked about it with you before, the success of the Abraham Accords, instead of seizing on that as an opportunity, hey, as an incoming new administration, say, hey, this was some good work done, let's seize on this, let's grow this out, is instead almost, we've seen a deterioration of that as well, and a lot of that was new relationships between Israel and Gulf states. But you oversaw the entire State Department, and there has been a sense for those who support Israel that there's some internal actions too inside the State Department that are pretty anti-Israel. Did you pick up on that when you were Secretary of State? Like these actors within, the bureaucrats within, that kind of have this old school viewpoint of, if you don't support this, we can't move on. I think John Kerry famously said, this would set the world on fire if Donald Trump acknowledged Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Of course, it did not. It led to the Abraham Accords and more peace.
Jordan, you got it exactly right. No, deeply ingrained inside the United States Department of State, and frankly, most of the United States government bureaucracy, is the central idea that the largest problem in the Middle East is created by the Israeli government and the conflict that they have with the Palestinians, that is the fulcrum upon which peace must turn. And it is, it is radically pro-Palestinian in its actions. Their words would be more balanced, but make no mistake about it, it comes from the idea, too, that the United States is not a force for good in the region. There's too many who believe that as well, and that combination leads them to forget that you can actually build out peace. Peace not only between Arab states and Israel, but between people that live in Judea and Samaria and Israel. If we can simply find leadership inside of what's called the West Bank, if we can find leadership there that's prepared to acknowledge Israel's right to exist. That does not exist today. The current leadership of the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority, is still trying to kill Israelis, paying people who do, and they have no intention of making peace with Israel because, frankly, they benefit from the continued conflict. They continue to abscond with wealth, and they run their kleptocracy. And that's bad news for not only Israelis and the Americans and the Gulf Arab states, but for the Arabs that are living in those lands as well.
Yeah, Secretary Pompeo, we appreciate you joining us today on the broadcast and your work with us at the American Center for Law and Justice.